The center of the circle is double the size of the angle subtended by the same arc on the circle. Angles subtended by a chord of the circle on the same side of the chord are equal.
Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." A good education is a tool that helps people to contribute to the development of South Africa and to build a prosperous life for everyone within it. Therefore, the Constitution grants the right to education to everyone in South Africa. This right includes the right to basic education and the right to further education at a tertiary institution like a university or FET college. Everyone has a right to a basic education, which includes primary and secondary schooling up to matric. Our government must provide this right to everyone immediately, including adults who want it, even if they are unable to afford it. Making sure that people receive an adequate education is a huge task. In South Africa, there are 25,000 schools and 12 million learners. Only 40% of learners who start school in grade 0 finish matric. 60% drop out along the way. This is a big problem in our country.
Learners attending historically disadvantaged schools, historically African schools, are still performing very poorly. There have been some gains made, ensuring that there are norms and standards for basic infrastructure in all schools. Bursary schemes to make sure that there are enough qualified teachers in the rural areas is one of the good things that government has done. School feeding schemes is another good thing that government has done. Because education is a priority, government needs to be thinking a lot more about the problems in the poorer schools and how you improve the quality of education in the poorer schools.
For further education beyond matric at a university or FET college, this right means our government must make sure that more and more people are able to attend further education and training over time. The Constitution doesn't say anything about whether this education should be free or whether people should pay. But the state must help more people access further education. You might know about the 1976 Soweto uprising, where learners stood up to the government, resisting the government's school language policy, and were met with violence. Recognizing the importance of language in education, the Constitution gives everyone the right to be taught in the official language of their choice, wherever this is practically possible. These educational rights help to realize the potential of all who live in South Africa.
Hello everyone, welcome to the program. It's English this afternoon. I'm Janet Unterschlag, and a big shout out to Liberty for their support for this program so that we can be here in order to answer your questions and help you with that important support before your final papers. Remember, you can find us on the Tenfold Education app. Go there, contact us, have a look at what we're offering. Find us on WhatsApp. Send us your questions, as the students who've sent questions to us this afternoon have done. And finally, find us on YouTube at Mindset Learn. So get in touch with us, find out what we can offer you, and also tell us what you need. And I have questions this afternoon on summary writing. Very important part of your paper one, and an important place to get marks. The examiners want you to do well on this section. So let's have a look at what you can do to try to ensure that you get the best possible mark on the summary question. That's our focus for today. So the first one comes from Chico Gagno. So it's section B, which it will be for everybody, question 2, which it will be for everybody. And the examiners have given you a sentence. So you need to read that sentence very carefully. And then, equally important, look at what you have to summarize. So you read this, and then you focus on this. And this is normally in bold on your question paper. So this is FAL. How do I know it's FAL? Because of this. Home language looks slightly different. We'll have a look at a home language question later in the program, but summary is question 2. So what do we have to look for? How to keep your teeth healthy. Point form. So I discovered that the grade 8s were doing this. And I really didn't understand what was going on. And then a child came to write an exam in my classroom, and I saw him doing this and said, "What's happening?" And he said, "Well, you told me to number," and it says here, number your sentences from 1 to 7, but you also said it has to be in point form, so that's the bullets. People. No bullets. Point form, which is 1, 2, 3. But they want full sentences. That really is important. You do need to look at the number of words. Don't go above about 75. Just don't. Now, this is the kicker in FAL. I honestly do not understand why that is in the instruction. So home language students, it's actually much easier for you. You just have to find the points and put them down. And if you put 3 points in one sentence, the marker doesn't mind. You can be given credit for 3 points in one sentence. But the poor FAL student has to separate the points out. And if the FAL student thinks, well, hang on, this is a different point, but the examiner thinks it's the same point, you get penalized. So if you are an FAL student and you've written this sentence and you've got 2 points, so let's call them point 4 and point 5, but the examiners have said in the memo that that's point 4 and that's point 5, what happens is that the marker gives you credit for this one, so the marker needs to tick like that, and then the marker needs to write the number like that. So that's how it's done on the paper. But then they just ignore this. So a home language student would get the marks for that. An FAL student won't, because you put it in the same point. It's really punitive. Punitive is a wonderful Latin word, and it means to punish. So I feel that the FAL students are punished in a way that the home language students are not. But you need to pay attention. It's there. 1 point per sentence, your own words. Now, please take this with a bucket load of salt. Can we just talk about how it is marked? If you quote, so if we look at this example here, and you've quoted, the marker will write that. Let's say you've got this point. The marker gives the number and says that again. Then you've got this point. The marker gives the point, writes that, and does that again. Now the marker wants to give you the points or the marks for your summary. Right, so you've got 3 points. So you've got 3 points out of 7 plus. You quoted all the way through. So if you have only quotes, they're not going to give you any marks. But if you have, let's say, sort of used your own words here and sort of used your own words there, and you've got 3 points, they're basically going to give you 1 mark for language. So the language mark, this mark here, which is the language mark, is not given on spelling, punctuation, and grammar, but is given on your own words. But, listen to me carefully here, but you can change the passage a tiny bit. You do not have to use your own words. You can change it a tiny bit. So if I've said, let's look at this passage, we've got healthy teeth require a commitment. You can say, you must be committed. And that is considered using your own words. So all you've done is taken the words of the passage and moved them around a little bit. So please, this thing about use your own words as far as possible. I'm warning you that if you use your own words to such an extent that the marker can't recognize the point, because I'm sure you've seen how the memos are written. They present it with the quote from the passage and the own words. So the marker can see if you've quoted and put a Q each time for quoting, and then the own words. But if it's so far away from the original point that the marker's going, which point is this? Which point is this? Which point is this? And they don't know what point you're working on. They're not going to give you the point. So don't try and use your own words. Just try to change the passage a little bit, okay? Just a little bit. And that's true for home language as well. Please, home language students, just the same point. I find my really good students try to use their own words. And because the markers can't recognize the points, they give them like 4 out of 7. And my candidates who are really struggling with English, who find the right points and change it little bit, they get 7. And then they get 3 because they've changed it little bit, and they get 10 out of 10. So whether you're home language or FAL, this one, just, that is true for university. It's true for note-taking. It's not true in this particular question. It's not true here, right? Okay, so FAL students, you're going to do the point form. You've done it 1 to 7. You've used full sentences. You've got 1 point per sentence. You've changed it little bit. Total number of words. You count every single word. Please don't use things like won't, because that is will not and counts as 2 words. So don't use contractions. You've counted every word and you write 71. You put it in square brackets on the right-hand side of your page. Please don't lie. If you look at the memo, it says that the marker has to check the number of words. The markers will check. And if you've said 71 and it's 140, what do? They read your passage. So here are your points. You're an FAL student. You've got it like this. Let me just change color. So you've written your points. They will count till they get to 71. They'll finish that point. They will stop. They will cross out everything else, and they'll mark only up to the end of that one when they've got to 70 words. Home language students, very similar situation. So home language, you've written it out as a passage. They count the number of words. When they get to 70, now I want my red pen again. They get to 70, they put that, they write 70 like that, they cross out the rest and they give you credit only for that. So please, this is one place where you absolutely have to count every single word. You know that I'm not a mad fan of counting the words in the essay and the transactional writing. I think that's nonsense. But this is a place where you count every single word and you don't go over the number. You've got to get it down to 70, 71, 72. Okay, so before we start this question, which was sent in by this particular student, Chikoganyo, before we start this, let's take an ad break, and when we come back, we're going to do our first summary practice.
No one ever asks why we do the weird things we do. Like, why once is never enough. Or doing 2 trips is just one too many. Why do we, before we use these, or say 5 when we mean 20? Why do we have second thoughts? And think that lift buttons make them go faster? Why don't we walk there? Cross our fingers, touch wood, and struggle to hide our true feelings. At Liberty, we want to know all the weird and wonderful things that make us human, because human beings, being human, are what we make financial solutions for. Liberty, in it with you.
Did you know that the type of music you listen to affects your cardiovascular system? Researchers from Pavia University in Italy found that music with quicker tempos made people breathe faster and increased their heart rate and blood pressure. Slow and soft music, on the other hand, had the opposite effect and lowered heart rate and blood pressure.
Welcome back, everybody. It's English this afternoon, and we thank Liberty that we are able to answer your questions on summary writing and how to do summaries. And these questions have been sent in because students are contacting us on the Tenfold Education app and sending in their questions, having a look at what we offer there. They're also contacting us on WhatsApp. So once again, get in touch with us, send through your questions. Today is summary writing. Have a look at what we're doing each week, and then on YouTube at Mindset Learn. So we are reaching out to you. Please, would you reach out to us? So we're looking at this question. we have got to look at a passage and we've got to find 7 points on how to keep your teeth healthy. So let's have a look. Read the sentence. Right, how to keep your teeth healthy. So one point would be you've got to have a daily routine that you follow, and the routine must be brushing your teeth in the morning and in the evening before bed. I think this is the same point. It's the routine being explained. Change it slightly, so say something like, you must brush in the morning and before bed. Just change it little bit. What you'd notice with FAL is that very often there's 1 point in each paragraph. So do look for that, but there might be more than 1 point in a paragraph. So let's look at paragraph number 2, which is this paragraph here. So what is the point that is added? Remember how to keep our teeth healthy. We must floss before brushing. So before you brush your teeth, you should floss. Right? Right, look at paragraph 3, that's this paragraph. What do you find? Well, as I said, we're looking for 1 point per paragraph, but in this paragraph, I think we've got more than 1 point. Right? We have to brush the tongue in order to get rid of bacteria and make sure that your breath smells as good as possible. We also need to use a mouthwash after the teeth have been brushed. Now, if you read this sentence, it's simply telling us about mouthwash. And so does this. So try to sum up these points. So a person should use a mouthwash after brushing to clean the mouth and between the teeth to protect the teeth. It's all 1 point. So that's point number 4. We're looking for point number 5. Go on to the next paragraph. What have you found? What would you call point number 5? Is everybody working hard here? Here is point number 5. So if you just quote, then the marker would tick the point that you make, write the number of the point, but also write Q for quote. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to use our own words a little bit. So say something like, a toothbrush must be changed every few months, or when the bristles are no longer effective and they change color. So you change changing to change. You just make a small change. Right. Have a look at this paragraph here. We're looking for point number 6. Right, so is there anything here? Let's go back to the question. We've got to do how to keep your teeth healthy. So maybe, I'm really not sure about this, but maybe you could say avoid very sugary foods which damage the enamel. Maybe we could say how do we keep our teeth healthy is by avoiding all these sugary foods or foods with sugar, foods with a high sugar content. Looking at point number 7, we've got our last paragraph here. We need a 7th point. And so what we see is all of this is about one word: drinking water. So we can say drink water to stop cavities and help protect your teeth. So that is point number 7, is the water one. Then we've got adding mint to water will freshen your breath. What is it? It's how to keep your teeth healthy. I'm not sure that that's about keeping my teeth healthy, but I do think go to the dentist often is a very good idea. So there is point number 8, is visit the dentist for regular checkups. So there are 8 points. If you put 8 points in, we're talking FAL, then the point number 8 is not read. So there is no point, there's no reason to put in point number 8. Home language students, if you find 8 points, put them all in, because you will be given credit for all the points that you put down. And then if you've got 8, they only give you 7 because 7 is the total. But you would get 7 out of 7. FAL students, I'm afraid, once again, I think you are punished. So don't even put in point number 8. So if you're not sure, like if you weren't sure about this one, but you're really sure about drinking lots of water, and you're very sure about going to the dentist, then I would suggest leave the one that you're unsure of out. Call this 7, call this 6, call this 7, and go with that. All right. Home language students, put in everything you think, as long as you are within the word limit. Home language students, there's no point in going on and on and on and putting in the whole passage. Then they're just going to cross it out. Okay, always go back to the question. What was I asked to do? How to keep my teeth healthy? And so that's what we've done. And your FAL students set it out really nicely. So you're going to go question 2, and then you're going to go 1, and I would leave a line open nicely, and then 2, and again a line open. It just makes it easier to read. Start the section on a new page. Do all of that all the way down to 7. You write 7, and then you write 74, and you put it into square brackets at the end. Right, I do have another question from some students, but before we take that question, we're going to take another ad break.
Did you know that rainbows are actually circular and not a semicircle? We can't see an entire rainbow because the Earth's horizon blocks the other half, giving the rainbow its semicircular appearance. Rainbows are formed when the white light rays from the sun are reflected back when they hit the spherical water droplets suspended in the air.
Welcome back, everybody. It's English this afternoon, and we are doing summary writing. Thank you to Liberty for helping us and supporting us and making this possible. You've just seen how you can get hold of us on the Tenfold Education app. You've seen what we offer with lessons and back to basics and all of those kinds of things. Please use our platform. You can also find us on WhatsApp. Remember to send us your questions so that we can interact with you. And finally, find us on YouTube at Mindset Learn. So once again, you can get hold of us and we can help and support you. Our second question this afternoon from Lee Lizo and Shukuluku Magngangwa. Summary, question 2, same thing. Remember, read this, but pay attention to what will be in bold. You've recently read an article on how to prevent your eyes from straining when using different electronic devices. You would like to share, that should be a share, this information with your family members. List 7 points on ways to reduce eye strain. That's what we're looking for. Ways to reduce eye strain. Point 4. Number your points 1 to 7. Make sure you've got 7 points, no more than 70 words. 1 point per sentence, own words, we've talked about that, and the total number of words. Okay, what are we looking for? Ways to reduce eye strain. Once again, it's FAL. How do I know? Because it's point form summary. So at the moment, this is what FAL looks like. Will FAL look like this at the end of the year? I think so. We haven't been told it's changing. Home language will look slightly different. Still 7 points. Every language, 7 points. What are we looking for? Ways to reduce eye strain. Right. Vision for the digital age. Read the first paragraph. Right. I don't think there are any points there at all. Ways to reduce eye strain. I don't think so. I think that's just telling me to look after my eyes. So I'm not going to take any points out of paragraph 1 until I've read the rest of it and seen if I can find 7 points. Look at paragraph 2. There's definitely a point there. You must look away from the computer screen at regular intervals, means often, in order to change the way that you're looking and give your eye muscles a moment to relax. What am I doing? I'm using the words of the passage, but I'm trying to change those words a little. Right, try this paragraph here. Right, so what have you got? We're looking, just remind ourselves, we're looking at ways to reduce eye strain. So you should see that the first 2 sentences are about blinking. So blink more often, or conscious effort. Think about blinking more often to keep your eyes wet, moist. Then this one is about exercising the eyes. So hang on, that was point number 2. This is point number 3. It's about exercising your eyes. Make sure that you look from side to side, look up and down, and turn your eyes in a circle, right? Then this one, you help your eyes by going outside. I think that actually is point 4, because you'll reduce eye strain because you're going outdoors and you're not looking at the screen. So I really think things like leave the computer to go outside. Right. Where's point 5? Read the next paragraph, which is this paragraph. All right, so this is about light. So point number 5 is to close curtains or blinds so that the light isn't too bright. Then I think, even though this is, you see, this is where you're going, have they put light all in one point? But for me, it's a separate point. This is about the bright light coming in from outside. This is about the bright light on the screen. So you must adjust the light of the screen. And I think that's a 6th point. I am worried that the examiners might have put it together and said light is an issue, whether it's coming in from outside or is the lighting of the screen itself. I don't know. I'm unsure. Let me go on and see what else is in the passage. This paragraph. Right, so this is about reading. You can see this part is about the distance from the screen. So sit at the correct distance, which is about the length of your arm from the screen. Then is this point 8? Or is this whole thing about reading? See, this is where home language students would just put it all down and there wouldn't be a problem. FAL students, have they put reading all together? So in other words, is this about reading? This one, is this one about light? Is this one about reading? And here, regular eye tests. So is that 5, is light 5, is reading 6, regular eye test 7? Or have they split this one into 2 and split this one into 3? Because this is about distance. This first part is distance. Then this one is about eye level. So the screen should be slightly higher than your eyes. And this one is about the font on the screen. And my problem is, without looking at the memo, I don't know what was in the examiner's minds. So this is the kind of, and if I am finding this a problem to say, okay, do I put light altogether in one point, reading altogether in one point, and then finally regular eye tests in another point? Is that how I do it? I'd be tempted to do it that way because then I'd have 7 points. I'd be nervous about splitting the reading into 3. Distance, eye level, so if you're looking up or down, and then finally the size of the font. But I really don't know without looking at the memo. Then I know what the examiner's thinking. So this is what I meant when I said it becomes very tricky for FAL students to know exactly what's in the examiner's minds. Are they splitting them because it's easier if you split them up? Or they're expecting FAL students to sum it all up in one sentence? Not sure. Home language students, you just put it all down. Your only problem is to get it all into 70 words. All right, so we've seen some of the problems with FAL. I have some more examples of FAL, but I also have an example of a home language summary. So I think let's take another ad break, and then let's have a look at how the home language differs very slightly from the FAL in the summary question.
Want to catch up on some of your studies? Join Mindset for late night studies. Monday is mathematics. Tuesday is physical sciences, with life sciences on Wednesday and accounting on Thursday. Friday is English, maths literacy on Saturday, and Sunday's a good day to catch up on geography. Every day from 9 p.m. till midnight, and again from midnight till 6 a.m. Late night studies, only on Mindset.
Did you know that the tuatara reptile has 3 eyes? The tuatara species, endemic to New Zealand, are born with 3 eyes, with the 3rd eye located on top of the heads. The eye even has a lens and retina. However, the eye is not fully functional, and as the reptile gets older, a patch of skin grows over and covers the eye.
Welcome back, everybody. It's English this afternoon, and we have Liberty to thank for this opportunity of being with you in order to revise for the exams. And part of your revision should be to find us on the Tenfold Education app with our lessons and our help and our support. And of course, you can also find us on WhatsApp, and you can reach out to us and tell us what problems you are having and what particularly you would like us to revise. And you can find us on YouTube at Mindset Learn. So please get in touch with us, have a look at what we offer you, and tell us how we can support you as effectively as possible. The topic for today is summary writing, which is this very important question in paper 1. It's 10 marks. For FAL students, it's 10 marks out of 80, and for home language students, it's 10 marks out of 70. The examiner wants you to get as many of those 10 marks as you possibly can. So let's have a look at the home language summary. It's still section B, still summary. It's still question 2. And it says summarizing in your own words. And I have already made a point about how much of your own words you should use. You've got a longer introduction here. Let's read it. Text C provides insight into the importance of verbal communication in the field of technology. Summarize in your own words, and I've said the reasons for every employee in the field of technology improving his or her communication skills. So this is what you are summarizing. Be careful. About 2 years ago, I had a student who did badly because she said she looked at the heading of the passage and then she summarized the heading of the passage. You are given the question. Here, the reasons for every employee in the field of technology improving his or her communication skills. Can we just stop for a second and look at the word insight? Because I had this in class today and people said they weren't sure about what the word insight means. So in most languages, I don't know enough to say in all languages, We see with our eyes. So I can say, I see you, and I am seeing you. I see the pen that I'm writing with. I see my hand. But we also use see to mean with the mind. So you explain to me about how to do summary writing, and I go, oh, I see, meaning I understand. Now, insight is when you can see into. So there's a situation, and you understand better why things are happening. You have insight into that situation. Or there's somebody sitting in front of you, and you have insight into what that person is thinking and feeling. You are seeing into that particular person. So here we've told that Tech-C provides insight into the importance of verbal communication in the field of technology. We are summarizing the reasons for every employee in the field of technology having to improve communication skills. Right. Home language. You've still got 7 points, but they give you more words. The passage is longer for you. They want it in a fluent paragraph. Now, this tells me that this is home language. Am I expecting home language to look like this at the end of the year? Yes, but always read the instructions. What if FAL and home language have changed? They don't want a title, but they do want a word count, which we've talked about. Okay. Why should every employee improve his or her communication skills? Right. Read the first paragraph. You're looking for your points. All right, so is there a point embedded in there? I think there is. The first sentence tells us that people in the field of technology find it hard to communicate through language, through words. But here we've actually got a point. People in the field of technology need verbal communication in order to reach their full potential. So I think that is point number one. Right? So when you're looking at this, you need to decide, all right, I think there is a point there, even though this is still part of the introductory paragraph. This just tells us it's important, so we don't want that sentence. Right, read paragraph 2. So in technology, you are a leader or you are a follower. To be a leader requires effective communication. Isn't that a point? To be a leader. So those people who want to be leaders in their field, in technology, need to communicate effectively. Notice what I've done. I've used the word leader. I've used effective, but I made it effectively. I used communication, but I made it communicate. I'm changing it slightly. Then look at the next sentence. Effective communication isn't necessarily speaking in front of a large audience. That doesn't really tell me why it's important for me to be able to communicate. The audience could be one coworker, manager, group. I don't really think there's anything there. The ability to articulate a message is your chance to translate and transfer your ideas. Your knowledge, your requirements. This is the protocol for exchanging information. So what are we saying? To articulate a message, remember when you are speaking, if you articulate clearly, you are making sure that every sound can be clearly heard. That's articulation. But if you're articulating a message, you're making sure that the message is clear. So it's getting the message clear. So it says, if you get your message clear, then you will be able to translate and transfer your ideas, your knowledge, and your requirements to others. Now, if you quote, we talked about how this is marked. Let us say you can't think of a way of changing this. You'll get the tick. They'll give you point number 3, but they'll put a Q. try to change it just a very little bit. So what could you say? That if you can make your message clear, then your ideas and knowledge and what you need, what you require, will be clear to other people. So if you can change it slightly, you'll get the tick and the 3. But what if you can't think how to do it? Then just quote. It is better to get the 3 with the Q than not to get anything at all. So rather say to yourself, okay, I'm going to lift every single point. I'm just going to find it, underline it on my question paper, which I think is worth doing, underline it. I'm going to number it on my question paper the way we are numbering here, and then I'm just going to copy it. Then I'm going to make sure I'm within the 90 words. Will you get any marks for the quote? No, but you'll get 7 plus 0. You miss out on 3 marks, but you get 7 out of 10, which is 70%. And if you can change some of these a little bit, you can get 1 or 2 or 3 marks. So you can easily change some of them and get 8 out of 10, which is a distinction. It's a distinction, but you're basically lifting. Because the memo says for the language that if you've just quoted, then if you get 6 to 7 quotes, you get no marks. If you have 1 to 5 quotes, you can get 1 mark for language. So let's say on 2 of the points you used your own words. So 5 points you quoted, you're going to get 7 plus 1, you're going to get a distinction. All right, do you follow me? Okay, back to our passage. We've got our 3rd point. Let's move on to the next paragraph. Long paragraph, let's have a look at it. A technically astute individual. If you're astute, it's the idea of clever with being sharp. Sharp in the sense of you pick things up, you recognize things, you can work out a solution to a problem, you can see where a problem is going to occur. That's astute. For a businessman or woman, it is one of the key qualities that you need is an astuteness, this insight, this cleverness, this sharpness. A technically astute individual may be overlooked in favor of his less proficient but outgoing counterparts. So this is somebody who's technically very good, but might not be promoted, might not be recognized, whereas somebody who's not as good as he is, but is able to communicate better, has got better verbal communication, will be recognized. So this is definitely point number 4. Once again, just quote. If you can't think of any other way of saying it, quote. So outgoing is somebody who can speak well. So I don't know if you know a word like eloquent, otherwise just say you speak well. So someone who speaks well will be favored. Use favor and just turn it into favored over somebody who is technologically better. All right? That's point number 4. This creates a lot of frustration. Addressing personal challenges with effective oral communication is as important as sharpening technical skills. While many find public speaking frightening, they need to reaffirm their potential. Now, I think we can't mark this as a new point because there it is already. So you must be careful. I think this idea of reaching your potential is point number 1. Now, what happens if, as the home language student, you include this point? The marker does not tick it. The marker indicates that you've made the point, but it is repeated. So there is no tick if you repeat the same point. All right? Be careful. I remember one June paper when we were marking. There was lots of repetition and many candidates did not see the repetition. And that became a problem because they counted 7 points or 8 points or even 9 points, and they left the exam feeling so confident. But in fact, there was a lot of repetition, so watch for it. Hear the words repeated. I think this is repetition, no matter what anyone else might say. Right. So what we've got is the idea of being recognized here. Then we've got addressing personal challenges with effective oral communication is as important as sharpening technical skills. So in other words, if you have good oral communication, you can overcome challenges. You can overcome problems. So I think that is point number 5. That, I think, is repetition of point number 1. And then we have this. There's absolutely no reason why a tech-savvy introvert cannot deliver an effective presentation, harnessing the full power of his thought processes. So let's see, is this repeating number 1, or is this a slightly different point? Tech savvy, meaning you are knowledgeable, aware, savvy. You know a lot about technology. So even though you're an introvert, you're not a person who is, outgoing. We've got outgoing over here. So you're not the outgoing person. But you can deliver an effective presentation. And this is what I think is slightly different from fulfilling your potential. If you harness something, there's a metaphor there. What do you normally harness? Like a horse. You put a harness on a horse, you put the bridle and things there, and then you can control the horse with the reins. So to harness is to be able to control. So he will be able to control the full power of his thought processes. In other words, he will be able to think better. So if he's able to present an effective presentation, he can think better and show that thinking. He will be able to use language both to say something and to communicate that thought. So I think this is another point. I think this is point number 6. So somebody who's knowledgeable in technology needs to be able to deliver an effective presentation in order to be able to control and express what he is thinking. Right. So we're already on 6, and we've got quite a bit to go. Let's continue. The fear of speaking is said to be greater than the fear of death. I do hope that's not true of you. Developing effective communication skills will help you become a bit more comfortable when addressing an audience. So that's clearly point number 7. You will feel more relaxed, change that word, when you are talking in public. Fine. Maybe, just maybe, you can get to the point where you can compare speaking to something a little less dramatic than death, for example, paying taxes. In the end, the absolute best conversations that can be had are when you can simply be yourself. Nothing turns off an audience, especially a technical audience, more than when they sense that someone isn't being genuine. So these 2 points are definitely the same point. But this is point number 8. So if you can speak well, it will allow you to be yourself and to be genuine. Change that to something like sincere or honest, believable. So we have 8 points. Wow, okay. Moving on to our last paragraph. A good speaker is receptive to signals from the audience, which will enable him to improve on his delivery. So I think that is another point. because they explain it here. Our jobs are ultimately more than just technology. Our jobs involve many soft skill areas. Now, this is something that's being spoken about more and more these days, including the ability to communicate effectively. So when you go for an interview, they're not just interested in the skills that you've got, your knowledge and your ability to apply that knowledge. They're looking for soft skills. And that is very true of the workplace that you are going to be entering. So effective communication is one of them. So what will it do? It will improve your chance of getting a job and of keeping your job. Right, so what have we got here? We've got the idea of, first of all, if you can speak well, you'll be able to respond to your audience. That maybe is point number 9. You'll be able to interact with that audience. And then point number 10 is that this kind of soft skill, which is the ability to speak, is an important one in the job market. Let's just finish the rest of our passage. Although verbal communication can be particularly challenging, it is also necessary. Many people who are successful in the world of technology have struggled with their ability to comfortably and effectively communicate with others. By identifying the problem and polishing these skills, anyone can become a more effective communicator. The skill of effective communication is very important and will allow an employee to unleash his full potential in a career of technology. Now, I think this is point number 1 again. So in other words, I think that this is all just like summing it up, telling us why you need to be able to communicate. So I think we've got 10 points. So what would I recommend to the home language student? I would take those 10 points and I would write them into a paragraph, trying to change the words slightly. And because we've got 10 points, trying to compress it, trying not to say it in so many words, trying to tighten. Then I would count the number of words. If I'm way over 90, then chop off some of the points. Say to yourself, okay, point number 10 must go. Can I keep point number 9? Oh, I'll try. Try to shorten. So let's just look back at one of the points. Let's look at here. Absolutely no reason. So if you've quoted this, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. You've got 22 words for point 6 if you've quoted it. So if you said something like, a knowledgeable person can speak effectively, controlling his thoughts, would be 8 words. So we could get the 22 to 8. And if you felt, oh, that's a bit short, you could put 1 or 2 words back. But are you with me? Try to put down all 10 points first. Then try to cut until you get to your 10 points, but into the 90 words. Well, that was summary writing, and I hope I've given you some good tips that will help you achieve really well in your final exams. Until next time, from me, bye-bye.
what's up, peeps? Welcome to Moby School. We are here to make sure that you, yes, you get all the marks that you deserve on the go. We're here every Mondays to Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. only on Mindset Learn TV. Now, this is a whole hour worth of revision just for you. And I hope that you've got your notepads and your pens ready and that you and your study group are game for today's revision session. Now, my name is Joe, and just like you, I am also matric, and I'm here for a whole hour to make sure that I ace my final exams, and I hope that you will be doing the exact same thing. Now, do remember that we love hearing from you guys, so log on to our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/MobySchoolSA.